Down in the shop with the Plastidip, the Lipos, and the creative Castle Creations BEC. I prepped the BEC by folding the ribbon cable back to the power leads, zip tying it, and then I wrap it with a little 3M electrical so that when the leads are being pulled apart, they don't tear the Plastidip, which is pretty easy to tear apart. And then this part that's nice and flat, once it's all Plastidipped and everything, this is going to get a piece of Velcro, so that's how it'll stick to the electronics tray. The way I deal with these is I'm going to cut the plastic shrink wrap, this protective heavy-duty plastic shrink wrap off of here, because I don't think the Plastidip's going to stick as good to this, because it's very slick and slippy, as it will to the actual batteries inside. And that's how I did mine. I just cut the plastic right off and I just dipped them. Up here, what I did find is that these cables always moving around all the time. These little guys here, your balance leads and the power leads, that they tended to tear the Plastidip. So I think what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to do a little wire tie action right there just to give the Plastidip something to wrap around. So I'll put a little wire tie around each one of those after I've got them cut. Don't mean to block the camera, but I sure don't want to get this all over everything. This is different than paint. It smells different than paint. Woo! Dog. I'm going to start by getting a nice wet coat on. I don't want it to get too drippy. Nice wet coat on it. I know I'm blocking the view, but it's better than spraying the camera with Plastidip, wouldn't you say? So yeah, that's basically it. I'm just going to carry on like this. Guys, pardon the loud fan noise. I'm evacuating the paint booth. I've been spraying Plastidip. Got 4 coats on there. It reeks. I wanted to show you the bus shell and how I had to cut it to make everything work out. Roll some of this Plastidip off my fingers while I'm at it. Okay. Unique challenge with this shape body on this chassis. Had to make some clearances on the front. Not just for this actually cleared the bumper fine, but for when you have things like this going on, so it'll clear the linkage. Yep. So, same on this side. You can see how it wants to get right on that link when it's all the way over, but it just clears it now, front bumper. And it still has the protection you want for your servo. And in the back, oh yeah, I want to show you the side on these. Until you get at some really crazy lean angle, which you'll probably never actually encounter, but maybe, just a little bit of body rub, but I didn't want to keep cutting away on the fenders. I wanted to keep some wheel rub, so I had to put up with a little bit of edge rub to get a nice wheel well shape. If I cut it up anymore, I lose the whole side flank look of it. Plus some strength. So everywhere it makes a bend, there's going to be some more strength. Just a little tiniest bit of edge rub right there. On the back, I had to make extremely large wheel wells because I didn't have a nice roundy shape like the front for the wheels to get around. So for these, in order for these to steer well and be able to do crazy things like that, and this is a ruler and it shows that you got over 8 inches, 8 solid rock hard inches of articulation here. And when you got the wheel turning in the back, there would have been a big rub there, not anymore. And also when you go over this way, maybe not so much, maybe more like this. When you're totally kitty cornered, if you were steering like this, in your kitty corner, and you can see I've managed to cut just enough where it doesn't touch. Same in the front. As you move the body around, you're missing the wheels almost entirely. The wheels do come up over the body, over the cutout. There is a potential for some wheel rub right up here on the windows. I didn't want to cut out the windows. But in general, regardless of how low you want to set the shocks, you can drop this another 15 millimeters just by moving the shocks up. You could get it very slack, you could get it way on the ground, and you can still get your all-wheel steering happening with no constriction. Just to show you. Get you some more ideas of how this thing rides. Pull up, and this is full up. You can see this, my balled up hand is like 100. I'm not touching it. So you're over what I was reading online. But, I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up. When you push it down, you get just about on the ground. I can't get 2 fingers between it. The point where it hits, the servo, the actual corner of the servo box, starts to run into this right here. And the horn for the uppers runs into this right here. If I were to cut this out and do all kinds of crazy things, I would gain a 1/2 of an inch before the windshield hit the uppers. And at that point, right now, the shocks are more than 2/3 compressed in the front. And you still have good rocking from side to side articulation. You just don't have full down. And I don't think there's ever going to be a situation when you're articulating that full down is really the issue. If you're up doing crazy things like this, or if you're like this, doing crazy things like this, it's clearing the servo, it's clearing the arms, it's clearing everything. Even like that, the servo tucks right into where the headlight would be. So that's going to make the LED thing real interesting. Figure something out. Might have to put the LEDs in the grill for the headlight. Because the servo goes right where the headlight goes, but that's a beautiful thing. You're totally protected. If you were to take a tumble and crash, what you're going to hit is your front. You're not going to hit your servo. It's the same in the back. When you start to do your endo, you end up just sitting on the back of the bus, and then it wants to come back forward. When you go over this way, you end up rolling on the shell. When you end on your side, like this, it basically wants to just roll over on its back. But notice that it wants to get over its back and get to the other side pretty good. If I just go like this, it wants to get up on the wheels, and I think if you were gassing it just right, and the wheels turned, you'd probably pop back up. I wanted to show you how much this thing will lean before it wants to tip over. So you can see right now, the thing wants to start tipping over, but if I get it to about right there, now that's pretty radical. I know the rear axle is drooping a lot and making it a certain way. You get a lot of lean before this thing wants to tip over. That's about where it starts to want to tip. That's wild, man. You could be crawling some serious flanks. Making progress on the side hill. So, you got your rear wheel steering accommodated, even at ridiculous low body height. You could drop the shocks, you could put shorter shocks. You could do a lot of things. You could make this thing into all different kinds of configurations without having to change where the body's mounted or anything. And even here, you're not going to hit the bumper no matter what happens. The front wheel doesn't hit the bumper. Back wheel doesn't hit the body. So you get to the very, very, very most ridiculous thing, and then maybe a tiny bit of rub, depending on what kind of stresses you're putting the body under. So in many ways, I feel like I've accomplished kind of an amazing thing, which is to take a school bus body and make it into something pretty awesome as far as protecting your crawler without limiting what the crawler can do. this thing will get up and beg to get on the rocks. It will bounce very, very straight down. I know I have no battery in it right now, so this is a really good time to be balancing anything. But I'm just saying that even as it starts to want to roll, if it wants to roll like this, it's going to go like this. You could possibly gas it and get yourself back up. I think this is going to be a pretty cool shell in action. Of course, I'm not going to be ruggedly testing this. I'm not going to be beating this around. I've got paint work to do and stuff. It's going to keep me busy. I don't have time to play with this wonderful thing. I wish I had two of them. I would tear the hell out of one of them just to do it. Love it. Super cool. Bus shell. Managed to save all the windows. Did have to scallop the bumper, but you see, I think it came out real nice. Still get a lot of protection for that servo. If you back into something, you're going to hit this instead of your servo. But you're high up enough that when you're trying to get over stuff, and at the most, all it's going to do is this. It's not going to tear it up. On the front, you got a good basher. Bashing into things, you're not hitting your servo. You're coming down hard on the rocks, you're not hitting your horns. Plenty of support. These are very stout aluminum body plates. I don't want to slam the crap out of this. But this is more rigid than my Nomad. My Nomad, because it's so cut away, it's really This thing is going to take a great beating, plus it's got the ridges all along the top. I think it's a great shell. I was really dubious at first. I was like, oh my God, how am I going to make this look good? But I had to cut huge wheel wells, just like on my Nomad. But on the front, I got away with just a little bit of a nip right there. Alright guys, thanks for watching that. Let me show you while I'm at it. Turn that fan off for a second so we can talk in a normal tone of voice. Not too crazy about the spray Plastidip. This is after running through almost a full can of it. And I got all these little pinhole bubbles at this point. Maybe they'll gas out and lay down, but I don't think so. And it's not filling in the gaps, man. Most importantly, that gap up at the top. When I dipped my battery, 3 dips, it had made a very thick, severe coating all around it and filled in all the gaps. When I dipped the BEC, I got the bottom filled real nice. And I got the wire opening filled real nice. And a nice little thing up the wires. So I think I'm going to have to buy some dip them and finish them up. Which you can do. It's all compatible. It's compatible material. But I was a little disappointed. I thought for sure that the spray was going to allow me to get more of a precise layering effect, and after 4 coats, really wet coats, it's not doing what I need it to do. I need to get a really heavy, rugged coating around all this stuff. So, how about that? To the dip we go. Hey guys, I'm going to wrap up the night by showing you the crash cab I created for this particular chassis. It was a lot of work, let me tell you now. Used up the very last little scraps of Lexian I've got. So, she's riding high because she ain't got no weight in her. With that full droop. Kind of a tall crash cab. Doesn't need a crash cab at all. Electronics sit about this high. So this is really more than it needs. But I just wanted to make it kind of in scale with the whole size of the vehicle. This doesn't weigh hardly anything. It doesn't weigh nothing. So it's not that it needs to be tiny or whatever for weight purposes. You can see it's going to come down on the windshield, you'd say, and then roll off the back. Get your back wheels hopefully somewhat in contact with the ground. Maybe you could push yourself into something and get upright again. It's the theory, anyway, right? Lexan, nice aluminum spacer. Nice button head hardware. I don't have any silver hardware left. It will fit this, so I had to use black. Body still fits over it, as you saw, no problems. So, there you have it. I think it should be adequate. It's pretty cool looking. And it'll tell you the front from the back for once, right? So you don't have to always look at the links to know which way is front or back. You can look at the little windshield and go, that's the front. What do you think, Venus? You tired of all this noise and all these chips and everything. You're like, just stop. Stop! Okay, I'm going to stop for tonight. It's a lot, man. Carved the body, Plastidip the batteries, and made a crash cab. That's plenty for one evening, I think.